Hey, what's up, guys? Brad here. So today we're going to talk about Jack in the Box stock. Okay, it was disclosed that Michael Burry in the first quarter of 2020 bought 300,000 shares of Jack in the Box. It is now the biggest position in his equity portfolio, as you can see here on Data Roma. He's got almost $10.5 million in Jack in the Box stock. You can see he added to a few of his positions. He bought Facebook for the first time. At least he didn't own it prior to the first quarter of 2020. And he bought Boeing, which I covered in a recent video. But today I really want to dive into Jack in the Box stock to see if we can understand why this was an appealing investment to Michael Burry of The Big Short fame. Okay, so let's dive into Jack in the Box. So I took a stab at doing a discounted cash flow valuation of Jack in the Box. And so I assumed, pretty modest growth rates in free cash flow for 10 years, 2%. We're using a 10% discount rate. That's kind of the conservative discount rate I like to use. We have a 15 multiple of free cash flow. So after 10 years, we're assuming we want to sell the business based on a multiple of the free cash flow that we generate in year 10, which is right here. So this number here, the terminal value, is simply 15 times this terminal year free cash flow. On macro trends is where I found this free cash flow for the latest year, $301 million. Excess cash, so cash and cash equivalents, I found at Morningstar. That was $130 million as of the most recent quarter. So this is trailing 12 months, cash and cash equivalents. The debt is $2.33 billion. So that goes there. Shares outstanding, I took the market cap divided by the current share price to get 22.64 million shares outstanding. Okay. Now, based on all that, we have the equity available to shareholders, which is simply the present value of future cash flows, which is a sum of cash flows for each year, 1 through 10, and the terminal value there, discounted to present value. So that's the sum of all these, gives us the present value of future cash flows. Add the cash, subtract the debt, and we have what's available to equity holders. Take the equity divided by shares outstanding, and we get $83 per share is what I valued Jack in the Box at. Now the current price is 65. So, it's not a crazy deal. It's a 21% discount for Jack in the Box as of today, based on my estimates here. But from February 21st of 2020, on February 21st, the stock was at $89 a share. $89.34 was the peak. Okay. Now, only 4 weeks later, on March 18th, the stock had dropped from 89 down to about 18. Okay. The stock dropped 79% in less than a month. So, we don't know at what price Michael Burry was able to snatch up his 300,000 shares of Jack in the Box at. But, when I, look at these things, I assume they got in at the low. That when I look at 13Fs, when I look at activity from these top investors, what they bought in the last quarter, I just assume that they got in at the low price in the last quarter. Okay. if I'm going to clone the investor, I assume that to try to figure out, okay, is this a good buy now versus, when they may have bought in. So, I mean, you can see if Michael Burry got in at the low of 1859, which I'm sure he didn't get all of his shares at that price, but let's assume he was able to get in then. He's at a 78% discount from fair value as I calculated with my simple discounted cash flow valuation. That's crazy, a 78% margin of safety. So, Jack in the Box looks like it has a little hair on it. There's a lot of debt. But, if they're able to continue that 300 million in free cash flow and grow that very modestly, you can see here it's certainly a compelling buy at 1850. It's probably a compelling buy quite a bit higher than that. I like to get in this kind of business about half price. So at around 41, it really gets my attention. Of course, it's at 65 now, but looking at this, you can really see why Michael Burry may have been interested in Jack in the Box, especially if he was able to buy in at that really low price, around $19. So I was surprised to see how much this dropped in the first quarter. Who knows what he got it at, like I said, but that's impressive. Now, if you're interested in exploring Jack in the Box, I always recommend you search for ticker symbols at Value Investors Club, right? So you'd go there, you go to Value Investors Club, you would just type Jack in here, and you can see when all the Jack write-ups were. Now, Jack in the Box, this is what we want. The last write-up was December of 2018, which is the one I have pulled up. So, these are really smart investors who submit these write-ups for individual stocks. And so I would definitely dive into this. I know it's a year and a half old. So I'm sure there are things that, you're not going to want to. There's going to be updates, let's put it that way. You're going to want to update these numbers and the investment thesis, but I think this is a really good example of how a high-level investor kind of breaks down the investment thesis of a company. So highly recommend checking that out at Value Investors Club. And yeah, I'm curious to hear from you guys. Have you been looking at Jack in the Box? What do you think of it if you have? Definitely curious. I know we're starting to build a nice community of thoughtful investors here. So please, chime in the comments if you're looking at Jack in the Box, or what you think of it based on this video and what you've seen. So that's all I wanted to share, guys. Exciting time of the year as all these investors release their 13F filings and let us know what they've been up to. So a lot of activity from Michael Burry. And Facebook is definitely on my list. Boeing was interesting. Boeing actually dropped a lot as well in the first quarter of 2020. And here's another example of a company that dropped a lot in the first quarter. So that's all I got, guys. If you like videos like this on specific companies, smash that thumbs up button. Let me know in the comments which company you'd like me to dive into next. I know AMD is on the list. A few of you have asked for that. Alibaba, someone mentioned recently. But yeah, let us know what you're looking at and what your investment thesis on it is. It's always nice to get an extra pair of eyeballs on when you're considering an investment. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. Stay safe out there, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.